Hello everyone, I welcome you all to Ganesh IAS Academy. In today's session, we'll be discussing science and technology based current affairs from the date March 21 to March 31, 2024. Let us get into the details of the news. The first news that we are going to discuss for today is Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. Why is Kodaikanal Solar Observatory in news and what are all the significance of this observatory? When was it established and what are all the works that it is doing? All these things we need to know. Let us get into the details. Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. So this year 2024 marks 125th year of this solar observatory's establishment. That is the reason why it is in news. And it is owned and operated by Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Such statements are very important from exam point of view, that this solar observatory is owned and operated by Indian Institute of Astrophysics, and this is how the observatory looks like. What else do we have to understand? What was the need for such an observatory? An observatory is there, but what was the need for the establishment of such an observatory? Okay, so we need to get back to the history here. So the great drought of 1875 and 77, this was an important event which led to the establishment of this solar observatory. So this event, which was caused by low rainfall, highlighted the need for thorough solar studies. So since there was a drought, great drought, there was a need for thorough solar studies to understand its effects on the weather pattern. Okay, so solar studies effect on weather pattern was to be understood to get rid of such situations like great drought of 1875. Okay, so that was the background here. Moreover, India's drought was part of a broader global issue impacting multiple countries and resulting in widespread famine. So India's drought is not only contained within the Indian landmass, it is also affecting other areas. So this year shows the geographical significance of India here. Okay, so these are the two factors which led to the formation of the observatory. Okay, the background here. Now let us get into the details of the origin of this observatory or the establishment. So the concept of an Indian solar observatory began in late 19th century, and the government approved the establishment of Solar Physics Observatory in Kodaikanal in August 1893 itself. Okay, so in August 1893 itself, approval for establishment was got, and later Lord Wenlock, who was the then Governor of Madras, led the foundation stone of this Kodaikanal Solar Observatory in 1985, and systematic observations in this observatory commenced on March 14, 1901. So from this date only we are calculating 125 years now. Okay, so that is what we need to know. Moreover, Government of India separated this astrophysics department from the Indian Meteorological Department in April 1971, and later this Kodaikanal Solar Observatory was brought under the Indian Institute of Astrophysics, which was separately established in Bengaluru on April 1st, 1971. So what do we have to understand? Earlier, this solar observatory was part of Indian Meteorological Department, but later astrophysics was created as a separate institute. Okay, so Indian Institute of Astrophysics, which was established in Bengaluru. After that, this solar observatory had become a part of, or it is being operated by, this institute. Okay, so this is what we need to know. Moreover, why Kodaikanal? They have chosen Kodaikanal to establish this observatory, but why was Kodaikanal chosen? There are multiple other locations, but why have they chosen Kodaikanal? That we need to know. So, Kodaikanal in Palani Hills of Tamil Nadu was picked for the observatory because of its good atmospheric conditions. So this is what is very important. So it is just because of its good atmospheric condition, Kodaikanal was chosen based on the surveys conducted by Charles Mickey Smith, who was a professor of physics at Madras Christian College, and The other hills were also considered, like hills of Leh, Mussoorie, Simla, but they were all rejected for being dusty and cloudy, and the atmosphere around them was being unstable. That is the reason why they were rejected, and Kodaikanal was selected. So the primary reason is good atmospheric condition. Okay. Next is, what are all the instruments that are housed inside that observatory? So initially this observatory had telescopes, especially the Bhavnagar telescope. It was named after the Raja of Bhavnagar, and this telescope was there to study sunspots, prominences and solar radiation. We'll understand what prominences in the upcoming slide. Moreover, now this observatory has other advanced instruments like H-alpha telescope and white light active region monitor WARM, which are there for high resolution solar imaging. Okay, so this is what we need to know here. Now let us understand the concept of prominence and let us get into the details of the achievement of this observatory over this 125 years. So what is solar prominence? Solar prominence is nothing but a large bright feature which is extending outward from the solar surface or the sun surface. Sun surface is here, and these are the large and bright features that extend outward. These are called as solar prominences, and prominences are anchored to the sun surface in the photosphere and extend outward into the hot atmosphere, which is called as corona. So from photosphere it is moving outward towards the corona. This is called as prominences. All these prominences were observed by that solar observatory in Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. Okay. Now let us understand the achievements of this solar observatory. This observatory played a crucial role in solar physics, such as identifying radial motion of sunspots. So here we need to know what is sunspots. There is radial motion of sunspots. Okay, that was initially or for the first time observed by Kodaikanal Solar Observatory, and that effect is known as Evershed effect because it was found by a scientist known as John Evershed. Okay, so Evershed effect. What is Evershed effect? Radial motion of sunspot is known as Evershed effect. And here we need to know what are sunspots. Sunspots are actually phenomenon on the sun's photosphere again that appear as a temporary spots that are darker than the surrounding area. So if you see here, these are the temporary darker spots which looks darker than the surrounding areas. Those are called as sunspots. Okay, so why do sunspots occur? That also is important. So they are the regions of reduced surface temperature which is caused by concentrations of magnetic flux that inhibit convection. So there is concentration of magnetic flux which is stopping this convection happening. Convection is movement. Okay, so up and down movement is hindered by concentration of magnetic flux. That is the reason such solar fluxes or sunspots are happening. Okay, so they are the regions of reduced temperature. So when we compare the temperature of this region with this darker region, the darker region's temperature will be lesser. Okay, so that is also important to be noted. And Evershed effect. What is Evershed effect? Radial motion of the sunspots is known as Evershed effect, and this was first observed by Kodaikanal Solar Observatory. What else are the achievements of this observatory? That this has been imaging sun for over a century now, and it has a rich repository of data. This is very important. It has a huge collection of data about sun. Okay, many information is stored. Next is, due to its location in the Palani hills of southern India, this observatory plays a central role in observing changes to the equatorial electrojet. So at the equatorial regions, electrojet are being observed here. So what is electrojet? It is an electric current which travels in the Earth's ionosphere. There are different spheres of the atmosphere. In that, the ionosphere, electric current travels, and that is being observed by this. That is called as equatorial electrojet. Okay. Moreover, this COSO, that is Kodaikanal Solar Observatory, broadened its research scope to encompass cosmic ray, radio astronomy, ionospheric physics, and stellar physics. So initially it was started as studying solar physics only, but later its area has been broadened. Okay, so it includes cosmic ray studies, radio astronomy, ionospheric physics, and even stellar physics. Okay, so this is what we need to understand from this particular topic, that is solar observatory, Kodaikanal solar observatory. The topic that we are going to discuss now is CoViNet. What is CoViNet? Why is it in news? World Health Organization has recently launched a new network called as CoViNet. What is it? It is a network of global laboratories with expertise in human, animal, and environmental coronavirus surveillance. So those laboratories which are there for human, animal, and environmental coronavirus surveillance, they are grouped together here. Okay, they are grouped together as a network. Okay, so that network is called as CoViNet. So what is the aim of this network? It is to identify and monitor potentially novel new coronaviruses that could emerge shortly. Okay, so they are going to identify and monitor the newly emerging coronaviruses. So that is what is the aim of this network. What else do we have to understand? So it is currently, this network currently comprises of 36 laboratories from 21 countries in all 6 World Health Organization's regions. Okay, and in India there are 3 laboratories. So of this 36 laboratories, 3 laboratories belongs to India. What are all the laboratories that is part of this network from India? They are CSIR, that is Council of Scientific and Industrial Researchers, NEERI. NEERI is National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. So CSIR NEERI is one laboratory. Next is ICMR, that is Indian Council of Medical Researchers, National Institute of Virology, which is there in Pune. Okay, so this is the second laboratory. Moreover, the third one is Translational Health Sciences and Technology Institute. Okay, so these are all the 3 laboratories which are part of this CoViNet. Okay, so this CoViNet will not only focus on SARS-CoV-2. What is SARS-CoV-2? COVID-19 is called as SARS-CoV-2. Okay, but it also, that is, this network will not only focus on the COVID-19 virus, SARS-CoV-2, but it also assesses other coronaviruses like MERS-CoV. Let us understand what are all these SARS-CoV and MERS-CoV in the upcoming slide. Okay, thus it will enhance the laboratory capabilities, and this network will include animal health and environmental surveillance to enable timely risk assessment, thus informing WHO policies and protective measures. Okay, so this is the important role that is being played by this network, and this CoViNet aims to support the establishment of more laboratories in low and middle income countries. Why? To monitor MERS-CoV and other significant coronaviruses. So here we saw SARS-CoV, SARS-CoV-2 and MERS-CoV. What are they? Let us understand those details. So they are different types of coronaviruses. The first one is SARS-CoV. What is SARS-CoV? Severe acute respiratory syndrome, that is SARS. CoV is coronavirus. Okay, so this was first reported in the year 2002. Next is MERS-CoV. What is MERS-CoV? Middle East respiratory syndrome, and this was first reported in the year 2012. And then the latest one is COVID-19, which was first reported in 2019. That is the reason why it is named COVID-19. And it is again SARS-CoV, which means it is also severe acute respiratory syndrome. This is what we need to understand. SARS-CoV, SARS-CoV-2 and MERS-CoV, that is Middle East respiratory syndrome. Okay, I hope it is clear. CoViNet. The topic that we are going to discuss now is magnetofossils. what are magnetofossils, how are they formed, what are all the features of magnetofossils, all these details we need to understand. Let us get into the details. Scientists from CSIR National Institute of Oceanography, which is located in Goa, have discovered 50,000-year-old giant magnetofossils in Bay of Bengal, making it one of the youngest magnetofossils found till date. So they have found something called as magnetofossils and its age is 50,000 years. Okay, so how are these magnetofossils formed and what is magnetofossil? Let us understand. Magnetofossils are nothing but fossilized remains of magnetic particles. So when the magnetic particles are remaining as fossilized remains, those are called as magnetofossils. But how are these magnetofossils formed? That is important. So they are actually created by magnetotactic bacteria, also known as magnetobacteria. So these bacteria are the ones which are forming these magnetic materials, okay, magnetic particles. And magnetotactic bacteria are mostly prokaryotic organisms. What is prokaryotic organisms? Those organisms which have underdeveloped nucleus or no nucleus at all. They are called as prokaryotic. So no nucleus inside the cell. That is prokaryotic organisms, and these magnetotactic bacteria are also prokaryotic organisms that arrange themselves along the Earth's magnetic field. So according to Earth's magnetic field, they will be arranging themselves in such locations. And these unique creatures were first described in 1963. For the first time, it was first discovered or described in 1963. So here these organisms were believed to follow the magnetic field to reach places that had optimal oxygen concentration. So with the help of the Earth's magnetic field, they were able to reach optimal oxygen concentration areas. Okay, so that was the need here, and these magnetotactic bacteria create tiny crystals. Here is where those magnetic particles come into play. So these bacteria are creating tiny crystals which are made of iron rich minerals like magnetite and greigite. Okay, and these crystals help them to navigate the changing oxygen levels in the water body in which they live. So if the oxygen levels in the water body is going to change, if the region is going to become hypoxic, that is oxygen deficient, okay, if the region is becoming hypoxic, then these organisms will move to other regions where they have oxygen rich areas or optimal oxygen areas, and this they are doing with the help of the Earth's magnetic field. That is why it is called as magnetotactic bacteria. Okay, and the fossils left behind by these crystal creating bacteria help scientists to collect information regarding the conditions that prevailed millions of years ago and which contributed to sediment magnetic signal. So this concept is very important, and this concept is because of these magnetotactic bacteria, sediment magnetic signals. What else do we have to understand? Here the rivers of Godavari, Mahanadi, Ganga, Brahmaputra, Kaveri and Peneru, all these are western flowing rivers. Okay, western flowing and the Gangetic plain rivers, and then the Assam plain river, that is Brahmaputra. Okay, so Godavari, Mahanadi, Kaveri, Peneru, these are western flowing rivers, and then the two big rivers, the perennial rivers Ganga and Brahmaputra, they all empty into Bay of Bengal and play a crucial role in the formation of the magnetofossils. How are these rivers playing a role in the formation of magnetofossils? That is because they are carrying nutrient rich minerals to the water, which will help in greater growth or growth in population of magnetotactic bacteria. Okay, so the nutrient rich sediment carried in by these rivers provide a sufficient supply of reactive iron here. So iron is the mineral that we are talking here. So this reactive iron will combine with the available organic carbon in suboxic conditions of the Bay of Bengal to create a favorable environment for the growth of magnetotactic bacteria. So when the iron combined with the available organic carbon, it will create a conducive atmosphere for the bacteria to grow. So this is how the bacteria look like, which was recently found. So this is what we need to understand from this particular topic, that is magnetofossils. The topic that we are going to discuss now is Afanasy Nikitin Seamount. So where is the Seamount located? Why is it in the news? What is a Seamount? All these details we need to understand. Let us get into the details. India has applied to International Seabed Authority. Why? For rights to explore the Afanasy Nikitin Seamount, which is a cobalt rich region in the Indian Ocean. So this seamount is located in the Indian Ocean region. That is one important point to be noted. Its name is Afanasy Nikitin. So this move by India to apply to the international seabed is actually motivated partly by Chinese activity in the same area, that is in the Afanasy Nikitin Seamount area, which was there to secure strategic resources. So we need to secure our strategic resources. That is the reason why we have applied for exploring this area. Okay. So this seamount, that is Afanasy Nikitin Seamount, is located about 3000 kilometers from India's coast and is rich in cobalt, nickel, manganese and copper deposits, and it reaches up to about 1200 meters, rising from the oceanic depth of around 4800 meters. So oceanic depth is 4800 meters from the surface. This is 4800 meter, and these seamount are at the height 1200 meter. This is what we need to understand. So seamount. So now we need to understand what is seamount, how are seamount formed and other details. What is a seamount? It is an underwater mountain. Simply, it is an underwater mountain which is formed through volcanic activity. Just like we have volcanic mountains on the terrestrial ecosystem or in the land, we have underwater mountain which is formed by volcanic activity, and these are recognized as hotspots for marine life. This is very important. So they serve as a hotspot for marine life. What is the reason behind it? Let us know. Like volcanoes on land, seamounts can be active, extinct or dormant volcanoes. This is very important point. Okay, this may be asked as a question. So just like we have volcanoes on the land which may be active or dormant or extinct, similarly the sea mount can also be active, dormant or extinct. Next is, these are formed near mid-oceanic ridges where the earth's tectonic plates are moving apart, allowing molten rock to rise to the sea floor. Okay, so the molten rock rise to the sea floor by tectonic movement. Okay, so those regions are called as mid-oceanic ridges. That is where you can find such seamount. Okay, majority of the seamount is seen in such areas. So what is the significance of seamounts? They provide information about mantle's composition and how tectonic plates evolve. So when we study seamount, we can understand the composition of the mantle. Okay, and then how tectonic plates evolve. All these can be understood by studying the seamount. Moreover, they are good places for life. We already saw that they serve as hotspots for marine life. So they are good places for life because they can cause localized ocean upwelling. So what is ocean upwelling here? It is the process by which nutrient rich water from the deep within ocean moves up to the surface. So the nutrient rich water which was not utilized by organisms will upwell and they will be utilized. This process is called as upwelling. Will move from the lower levels to the surface. This is called as upwelling. Okay, and this is this Afanasy Nikitin Sea Mount. Here is Indian landmass, and this is where this sea mount is located, and this is how it looks. Okay, so this is what we need to know. However, here we need to understand about International Seabed Authority, to whom we apply to explore this seamount. So this is actually an international organization which was established in 1994. Why? To regulate mining and related activities in international seabed beyond national jurisdiction, and this international seabed is an area that includes most of the world's ocean. So beyond national jurisdiction, all the other areas will come under international seabed. Okay, if we have to explore something in the international seabed, then we must have to get permission from International Seabed Authority, which was formed in 1994. And this ISA came into existence upon the entry into force of a convention of 1982. What is the convention here? It is United Nations Convention on the Laws of Seas, simply called as UN Clause. And this convention codified international laws regarding territorial waters, sea lanes, and ocean resources. Moreover, this ISA is responsible for granting license and regulating activities that are related to exploration and exploitation of mineral resources in international seabeds. Okay, that we saw. I hope it is clear. That is why India has applied to International Seabed Authority to explore the Afanasy Nikitin Seamount. Okay, so its location, what is its uses, what are all the uses of a seamount in general, all these are important points to be noted. The topic that we are going to discuss now is H5N1 bird flu. Let us get into the details. Since 2020, a highly pathogenic type of bird flu, that is H5N1, has been spreading across globe, thus posing an existential threat to birds and wildlife. So here it is said that it is bird flu, but it also affects other wildlife. This is one important point to be noted. Okay, and the virus has infected birds in more than 80 countries as of December 2023. And in January 2024, the Executive Director of Health at Wildlife Conservation Society said that this H5N1 has infected over 150 wild and domestic avian species around the globe, as well as dozens of mammalian species. So it affects wild species, domestic avian species, moreover mammalian species. All these are affected because of this H5N1 virus. So this is generally called as bird flu, also known as avian influenza or avian flu, which refers to an infectious viral illness that mainly infects and spreads among the poultry and some wild birds. So generally it happens among poultry, okay, farmed birds and some wild birds, but it also affects other wild animals. This is also important. So the virus was first reported in geese in China in 1996, and since then the outbreaks have been reported periodically across the world, and India reported the presence of the virus for the first time in the year 2006 in Maharashtra, Nandarbar. Okay, and the exact factors behind the large outbreaks of this bird flu are still largely unknown, and some scientists have, however, suggested that one reason could be climate change. So climate change is one important factor here for the spread of this bird flu, that is H5N1. What else do we need to know? There is a new version of this H5N1. Okay, what is the new version? So the new version of H5N1 first emerged in Europe in 2020, and then it rapidly reached Europe, Africa, and Asia, and then it is currently circulating. Okay, so the currently circulating type of H5N1 is one such highly pathogenic flu virus. So it is highly pathogenic avian influenza, sometimes called as HPAI, highly pathogenic avian influenza. Okay, and by late 2021 it had spread to North America. See, it emerged in Europe in 2020, and then it spread to Europe, Africa, and Asia. Later it went to North America, and during the fall of 2020 it even appeared in South America. So in every part of the world it is spread, and as late as February 2024, okay, very recently the virus stormed through mainland Antarctica also. So Europe, Africa, Asia, North America, South America, and even Antarctica. Everywhere else avian influenza, this is that is H5N1 bird flu is spreading, and along with affecting farm birds, the virus also significantly harmed wild birds also, particularly those species that are already facing the threat of extinction. These are the species who are more vulnerable for bird flu attack. So what is the prevalence among other animals? We know that it is spreading among farm birds and then other wild birds. But what is its prevalence among other animals? So the spread of the virus among mammals including foxes, puma, skunk and both black and brown bears in North America as well as farmed minks in Europe. This spread is raising concerns due to potential for increased virulence and cross species transmission. So one species to another species transmission is very easily happening, and then it has increased virulence. And the marine mammals such as sea lions and dolphin seal, elephant seals have also been killed because of this virus. So even the marine organisms are being killed because of bird flu, and human bird flu infections are actually very rare. Humans getting infected by bird flu is very rare. It typically occurs in individuals who are exposed to large numbers of infected birds at poultry farms, indicating a higher risk with increased viral exposure. Only in such situations human infections are possible. Okay, I hope it is clear. That is H5N1 bird flu. So with this we have come to end of today's session. I hope you found the session to be very useful and informative. Let us see in the next session. Thank you all.